Success doesn't just disappear. It dies slowly, killed by habits so small you barely notice them. Today, I'll show you the 5 silent killers of success, and if you can defeat even one of them, your entire life can change forever. You see, success doesn't come overnight, but neither does failure. Failure sneaks in quietly, one wrong habit at a time. It's not one big mistake that ruins a man's future. It's the little choices he repeats daily without even thinking about them. So, if you've ever wondered why your hard work isn't paying off, why you keep setting goals but never seem to move closer, stay with me. Because today, we're not just talking about success, we're going to expose the 5 habits that quietly destroy it. And once you see them, never fall for them again. Some people spend their entire lives waiting for the right time to begin, the right idea to arrive, the right plan to be perfect, the right feeling to take action. They tell themselves, once things calm down, I'll start. When I have more money, I'll invest. When I'm ready, I'll begin. And yet, the truth is that perfect moment never arrives. Life doesn't send invitations. Opportunities don't knock politely, they pass by quietly, and only those who are moving catch them. The tragedy is that waiting feels safe. It gives the illusion of control. It makes us believe that we're being careful, thoughtful, patient. But underneath, it's fear disguised as preparation. It's the fear of failing, of being judged, of not being good enough. So we tell ourselves that we're not ready. We read another book. We watch another video, we plan again and again and again. But deep down, we know that every day we delay, the gap between who we are and who we could become grows a little wider. Action is messy. It's imperfect. It's uncomfortable. It's the only thing that moves you forward. You can't think your way into success. You must act your way there. The people who achieve greatness are not the ones who had all the answers before they started. They are the ones who started while they were still figuring it out. They learned along the way. They adjusted, stumbled, fell, and got back up. Progress was their teacher, not perfection. Think about the farmer who waits for the perfect weather before planting. He watches the clouds, measures the wind, studies the soil, and while he's waiting, another farmer plants his seeds. Weeks later, one is harvesting while the other is still analyzing. Life rewards the one who takes action, not the one who waits for conditions to be perfect. Because the truth is, perfection is a myth. There will always be another obstacle, another uncertainty, another reason to postpone. The one who acts learns to dance with uncertainty instead of fearing it. Some people mistake readiness for confidence. They think they'll begin once they feel confident enough. But confidence is not the starting point, it's the result. You gain confidence by doing. The moment you take the first step, something shifts inside you. You prove to yourself that you can move despite the fear, despite the doubt. That's how courage grows. The first step is always the hardest because it breaks the pattern of hesitation that's been built over time. Have you ever noticed how small decisions often decide the course of your life? You skip one opportunity, thinking it's not the right time, and suddenly, door closes. That missed chance leads to another, and soon the habit of waiting becomes a way of life. People don't fail overnight. They drift away from success one postponement at a time. It's not a single no that destroys a dream. It's a lifetime of not yet stuff. The mind loves comfort. It convinces you that waiting will make things easier. It tells you that tomorrow will be better, that someday you'll feel more ready. Tomorrow has the same temptations as today. If you don't start now, the habit of waiting strengthens and action becomes harder. Every time you hesitate, you reinforce fear. Every time you act, you weaken it. Most of the time, we're not waiting for circumstances to change. We're waiting for the feeling of certainty. But certainty never comes. You don't know if your idea will work. You don't know if people will approve. You don't know if you'll succeed. And that's okay. Nobody knows. Even the most successful people were uncertain when they began. The difference is they didn't let uncertainty become their excuse. They acted in spite of it. Think about all the ideas that died in notebooks, dreams that never saw the light because their creators were waiting for the perfect moment. How many inventions were never built? How many books never written? How many businesses never started simply because someone said, The world doesn't reward potential, it rewards execution. Your ideas only matter when they become actions. The truth is, right time is not a moment on the calendar, it's a decision in your mind. When you decide, the time becomes right. When you commit, life rearranges itself around your choice. Doors open, opportunities appear, and people come into your path, but only after you begin. You'll never see the whole staircase before you climb. The first step reveals the next, and the next reveals another. That's how progress works. Every great success story began with someone who acted before they were ready. The painter who picked up a brush before learning every technique. The speaker who spoke before mastering every word. The entrepreneur who launched before every detail was perfect. They all had one thing in common, and in starting, they found momentum. Waiting is the slowest form of failure. It feels harmless. It drains your energy and kills your enthusiasm. The longer you delay, the harder it becomes to begin. You start doubting yourself. You start imagining problems that don't exist yet. The mind becomes a storyteller of fear. What if it doesn't work? What if I'm not good enough? If I fail? But what if you succeed? What if the thing you're afraid to begin is the thing that changes everything? You'll never know if you keep waiting. Start now, not tomorrow, not someday. Even if it's a small step, even if you're scared, even if you don't have it all figured out, because motion creates clarity. You learn by doing, you grow by trying, you evolve by engaging. And the beautiful thing is, once you start, you realize it's never as hard as your fears made it seem. It's not the big, dramatic decisions that separate the successful from the unsuccessful. It's the small, consistent actions. One person hesitates, the other begins. The person says, I'll try later. The other says, let's try now. And while the first person plans, the second one learns. Action beats hesitation every single time. So the question is not, are you ready? The question is, are you willing? Are you willing to start before you're ready? To risk making mistakes? To learn on the go? Because that's how progress is built, not in waiting rooms, but on the field of action. The most successful people you admire are not special, they simply mastered the art of beginning. They learned that the fear of starting never goes away. The reward of acting always outweighs it. They understood that every expert was once a beginner who dared to take the first step. Waiting keeps your dream in imagination. Action brings it into reality. The seed doesn't wait for perfect weather. It grows through the storm. The same is true for you. You'll never control all the variables, but you can control your effort. And that's all success really demands. Effort, repeated daily without waiting for permission from the world. If you're waiting for motivation, remember this: motivation doesn't come before action, it comes after. Once you begin, energy rises, momentum builds, and the very act of movement inspires more movement. The power was never in waiting for the right time, it was always in starting where you stand. There is a habit that quietly destroys more dreams than failure ever could, and that is the habit of blaming and complaining. It's easy, it feels natural, and for a moment it gives relief. You should shift the weight of responsibility off your shoulders and place it somewhere else, on the government, on your boss, family, on the weather, on luck. But every time you do that, you give away your power. You hand control of your life to something or someone outside of you. And the more you do it, the smaller you become inside your own story. Seductive because it allows you to stay the same. It protects your ego. It says, it's not my fault. And for a moment, that feels good. The truth is, every time you say those words, you are building walls around your own potential. You are convincing yourself that life is happening to you instead of through you. You stop seeing possibilities because your focus is on problems. You stop creating solutions because you've already decided that someone else is responsible for them. The habit of complaining follows close behind. People who complain think they are expressing truth, but they are really rehearsing defeat. Complaining is a conversation about what you cannot change, repeated so often that it becomes your reality. The more you complain, the more reasons your mind finds to keep complaining. You start seeing life through a negative filter, the filter of what's missing, what's wrong, what's unfair. And the more you talk about problems, the more you anchor them in your life. There are two kinds of people in this world, those who find reasons and those who find results. The first group wakes up and scans the world for excuses. They look for something or someone to blame for where they are. The second group wakes up and asks one question: what can I do about it? That question alone separates the successful from the struggling, because the moment you ask, what can I do? You move from victim to creator. You stop waiting for life to change and begin changing it yourself. If you study people who consistently achieve great things, you'll notice something interesting. They don't waste time blaming others. They might acknowledge setbacks, but they quickly move on to responsibility. When something goes wrong, they look inward first. What can I learn? Can I adjust? What did I miss? They understand that responsibility is not about guilt, it's about power. The more responsibility you take, the more control you have, and the more control you have, the more direction you can give your life. Blame is like a comfortable chair, easy to sit in, hard to get out of. But comfort doesn't build character, it doesn't build growth. When you take responsibility for your life, even for things that aren't entirely your fault, you unlock strength you didn't know you had. You stop seeing yourself as helpless and start seeing yourself as capable. The difference between I can't and I will figure it out is the difference between a person who drifts and a person who drives. Think of the people who spend their days pointing fingers. They blame the economy, the politicians, the system, the weather, the neighbors, the boss, and yet their life never changes. Because the problem was never those things, it was their focus. As long as you are looking outward, you will never grow inward. Growth begins the day you turn your finger around and point it at yourself. Not to condemn, but to command. You begin to say, I am in charge of my response. I can't control the world, but I can control how I meet it. Complaining is a cousin of blaming. It gives you the illusion of control without requiring action. You can complain about your job without improving your skills. You can complain about your relationships without changing your behavior. You can complain about your health while avoiding discipline. Complaining is talking about what you don't want instead of building what you do want. It's a misuse of energy that could have been spent on progress. Have you ever noticed how people who complain often attract more things to complain about? That's because what you focus on expands. Your mind filters the world to match your dominant thoughts. If you constantly talk about problems, your brain begins scanning for evidence that life is hard. If you shift your language, if you start saying, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm figuring it out, your brain begins looking for solutions instead. Language shapes perception. Perception shapes experience. The habit of blaming others also makes you fragile, because the moment life throws something unexpected your way, crumble. You're not used to handling responsibility. You're used to deflecting it. But the one who accepts responsibility grows stronger with every challenge. They treat problems as training, not punishment. When they fail, they don't say, they say, what next? And that attitude alone makes them unstoppable. It's important to understand that blaming is not always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. It hides behind justification. It hides behind stories like, I tried, nothing worked, or people don't understand me, or life isn't fair. These sentences sound reasonable, but they keep you trapped. We'll never be fair, but that's not the point. The point is to rise anyway. The point is to grow so strong that fairness doesn't matter anymore. Some people think responsibility means burden. They say, if I'm responsible, then it's all on me, and that's too heavy. But responsibility is freedom. Because once you accept that your life is yours to shape, you stop waiting for others to fix it. You stop needing the world to cooperate. You realize that while you can't control everything, you can always control your effort, your attitude, your response. That is ultimate freedom. The moment you give up blame, something beautiful happens. You gain clarity. You stop wasting energy defending your circumstances and start using that energy to improve them. You stop saying, it's their fault, and start saying, what can I do differently next time? That single shift transforms frustration into progress. Because while you cannot rewrite the past, you can always redirect the future. Complaining is contagious. Spend time with people who complain, and you'll start doing it too. Their energy pulls you down. You begin to speak their language, think their thoughts, and adopt their beliefs. Before long, you're living their same results. If you surround yourself with people who take responsibility, people who focus on solutions, their attitude becomes your standard. You rise to the level of your environment. If you want to know why your life feels stuck, listen to how you talk. Do you talk about possibilities or problems? Do you talk about change or blame? Words reveal mindset, and mindset creates results. When you catch yourself complaining, stop and ask, what am I willing to do about it? That question alone breaks the spell of helplessness. It shifts your mind from emotion to action. There's a story about a man who kept complaining that the wind was always against him. He said, if only the wind would change, reach my destination. But the wise sailor knows that it's not the wind that determines your path. It's how you set your sails. The wind blows on everyone, but those who adjust their sails reach the shore. The complainer waits for the wind to change. The wise man changes himself. Stop blaming and complaining. You start seeing life as it truly is, a series of choices and consequences. Every result, good or bad, is connected to a choice you made. Once you accept that truth, you gain power. You can choose better next time. You can learn, adapt, evolve. You no longer need to control others or the world. You only need to control yourself. That's the beginning of maturity. And maturity is the foundation of success. The world is full of people waiting for circumstances to improve before they change their attitude. The secret is the opposite. Circumstances improve because you change your attitude. Life mirrors your mindset. When you stop complaining, it gives you fewer reasons to complain. When you stop blaming, life gives you more opportunities to take charge. When you act like the creator of your story, hands you the pen. Every time you replace blame with responsibility, you rewrite the ending of your story. You stop living as a victim and start living as a victor. Responsibility doesn't guarantee that everything will go your way. It guarantees that whatever happens, you'll be ready to meet it with strength. Comfort is a silent killer. It feels gentle, harmless, even deserved. Slowly robs you of your potential. It whispers, you've done enough for today, when there's still energy left in you. It tells you, you can start tomorrow, when today is the only real day you have. It convinces you that the easiest path is the smartest one. What it doesn't tell you is that the easiest path never leads anywhere worth going. Growth and comfort cannot coexist. One always destroys the other. The world around us celebrates comfort. We're surrounded by convenience, shortcuts, and instant gratification. Everything is designed to make life easier: faster food, smarter devices, endless entertainment. But the more comfortable life becomes, the weaker we grow on the inside. Because success doesn't grow in comfort, it grows in challenge, in resistance, in effort. Just like muscles only grow under pressure, your character, your mind, and your discipline grow only when they are tested. Every person who has achieved something remarkable has paid the price of discomfort. They've faced the mornings when they didn't want to get up, the moments when doubt screamed louder than desire, the failures that broke their spirit before they built their strength. But they kept going, not because it was easy, but because they understood that the pain of discipline weighs ounces, while the pain of regret weighs tons. Comfort is deceptive because it feels good in the moment. You tell yourself you deserve to rest, to relax, to take it easy. And yes, rest is important. Rest is meant to recharge you, not to replace effort. The danger begins when comfort becomes your default state. When every decision is guided by what feels good instead of what is good. You stop stretching, you stop reaching, and slowly, you stop growing. Think about how nature works. A tree that stops growing begins to die. The same law applies to you. If you stop pushing beyond your limits, it begins to shrink around you. Your dreams get smaller, your goals get safer, your passion fades. Comfort feels like peace. It's really a slow surrender. Every great life requires discomfort. It demands that you do things you don't want to do. At times you don't want to do them. You exercise when you'd rather sleep. You study when you'd rather scroll. You save money when you'd rather spend. Every small act of discipline is a declaration that you refuse to be owned by comfort. You take back control of your future one uncomfortable choice at a time. The truth is, comfort doesn't just stop you from achieving more. It convinces you that where you are is good enough. Even when deep down you know it's not, it numbs your hunger. It replaces purpose with pleasure. You start calling avoidance balance, laziness, self-care, and stagnation peace. But peace isn't the absence of struggle. It's the strength to walk through it. When you look back at your life, the moments you remember with pride will never be the easy ones. You'll remember the times you fought through difficulty, the nights you stayed disciplined, the seasons where you didn't give up. Those are the moments that shape your identity. Comfort never gives you those memories. Struggle does. The greatest danger of comfort is that it quietly lowers your standards. You stop expecting excellence from yourself. You start tolerating average effort, average results, and an average mindset. The voice of ambition grows faint, replaced by the voice of excuses. You begin saying things like, "It's not that bad," or "At least I tried." And you convince yourself that mediocrity is acceptable. But inside, you know you were made for more. Anyone who has mastered their craft, athletes, artists, leaders, inventors, behind every achievement lies a mountain of discomfort. They practiced when others rested. They failed publicly while others stayed safe in the shadows. They took risks, endured criticism, faced loneliness, and still kept going. What separates them from the rest is not talent or luck, but their relationship with discomfort. They learn to see it not as an enemy, as a teacher. Every time you step outside your comfort zone, you expand it. The thing that once scared you becomes normal, and suddenly you're capable of more. That's how growth works. The challenge that once intimidated you becomes your warm-up. The habit that once felt impossible becomes automatic. But that only happens if you push yourself consistently. You will never feel ready to grow. The mind always resists discomfort. It tells you to wait until you're more confident, more skilled, more prepared. But readiness is an illusion. Growth demands action first. You become ready through the act of doing, not before it. You won't build courage by thinking about fear. You'll build it by walking through fear. Most people don't fail because they aren't capable. They fail because they aren't willing to be uncomfortable. They avoid the pain of effort, and in doing so, they invite the pain of regret. You can choose one or the other, but you can't escape both. Either you suffer the temporary discomfort of discipline now, or you suffer the permanent discomfort of wondering what could have been. The problem is that comfort rewards you immediately. It gives you pleasure now and punishment later. Discipline does the opposite. It gives you pain now and reward later. The undisciplined chase comfort in the present and pay for it in the future. The disciplined endure discomfort in the present and are rewarded in the future. That's the difference between the life of regret and the life of fulfillment. Every time you choose comfort, you delay your future. You trade long-term progress for short-term relief. You train your brain to quit whenever things get hard. But every time you choose discomfort, every time you stay a little longer, try a little harder, and push a little further, you build a habit of resilience. That habit compounds into strength, and that strength becomes your edge. Discomfort builds character because it strips away everything unnecessary. When you're struggling, you discover what truly matters. You learn who you are without the applause, without the rewards, without the easy outcomes. You learn to keep going, even when no one is watching. That kind of strength can't be bought or faked. It's earned in the furnace of effort. The comfort zone is not a place, it's a mindset. It's the set of limits you've accepted as enough. The moment you challenge those limits, your life begins to expand. You realize that most of what you thought was impossible was just uncomfortable. You start to see fear not as a signal to stop, as a sign that you're moving in the right direction. Growth always hides behind fear. Think of how a diamond is made. It begins as carbon, ordinary, remarkable, but under intense pressure over time, it transforms into something rare and valuable. The same principle applies to you. Without pressure, your potential remains hidden. Discomfort is not there to break you, it's there to build you. People often say they want a better life, a better career, a stronger body, a happier mindset. But what they really mean is that they want those things without paying the price. They want progress without pain. Nature doesn't work that way. The price of improvement is always discomfort. You don't become disciplined by staying comfortable. You don't become brave by avoiding fear. You don't become successful by choosing ease. The small discomforts you face daily, waking up early, studying longer, saying no to distractions, speaking up when it's easier to stay silent. These are not punishments, they are investments. Every time you choose discomfort, you deposit something into your future. Those deposits compound over time into confidence, mastery, and success. The people who live with purpose don't have less discomfort than you. They simply learned to stop negotiating with it. They stopped asking, how can I make this easier? And started asking, how can I make myself stronger? That shift changes everything. Because when you stop avoiding discomfort, you stop being controlled by it. It loses its power over you. The moments that define you will always be the ones where you kept going, when quitting would have been easier. That's where self-respect is built, in the quiet, difficult moments no one sees. Comfort never builds that kind of respect. It only offers a temporary escape, but discipline, endurance, and persistence, those build a foundation that lasts a lifetime. If you ever feel stuck, ask yourself this: where have I grown too comfortable? Because somewhere in that answer lies your next level. The goal is not to eliminate comfort completely. It's to make it something you earn, not something you live in. Comfort should be the reward for progress, not the replacement for it.